What is going on, everybody? My name is Anthony, aka Tone14, and I am bringing you my draft analysis for Season 4 of the APA, or the American Pokemon Association. So I decided that with the NES, or the National Exhibition Syndicate, coming down to the final 6 weeks of the season before the playoffs start, I decided to try my hand at another league in the meantime. And this formatting was extremely different from any other league formatting I have seen in a while actually. Um, so basically to recap what makes the APA so different from any other leagues, for one, it does keep the GBA formatting with the whole tiering system, but they have included all Uber Pokemon with the exception of Primal Groudon, Primal Kyogre, Arceus, and Mega Rayquaza. All of those Pokemon are banned. And they also combined those Uber Pokemon with all the Mega Pokemon in existence, including the Mega Pokemon in Ubers, like Mega Kangaskhan, Mega Mawile, Mega Blaziken, Mega Mewtwo X, Mega Mewtwo Y, Mega Salamence, Mega Lucario. Those Pokemon have been included, and they've been combined into a new tier called the Mega Uber tier, or the MU tier for short. Another thing with the draft formatting for this league is that there is no point value system in this draft. You pick 12 Pokemon, and you have to pick 2 Pokemon from each tier. So you can end up having 2 Megas on your team. You can have 2 Uber Pokemon on your team for the Mega Ubers tier. You have to pick 2 Tier 1 Pokemon, 2 Tier 2, 2 Tier 3, 2 Tier 4, and 2 Tier 5 Pokemon. And what also makes this league so unique from other leagues is the fact that in weekly battles, you cannot pick this. You can only pick. You have to take 1 Pokemon from every tier. You cannot have 2 Pokemon from the same tier coming in the same battle. For example, if you draft Mega Kangaskhan plus Kyurem White, you can't have both of them on the same team in the weekly battles. You have to pick one or the other. You can't have both. And that sort of thing really intrigued me, and it made me expand my way of thinking about how I draft and what Pokemon I want on my team, and also made me have to prepare for other Pokemon that you don't see in draft league format, like Xerneas, Yveltal, Kyurem White, things like that. So with that being said, I'm going to break down my draft analysis for the Maine Red Clawitzers Season 4. So I came into this draft completely unaware of what I got myself into, and I actually took over from someone who wasn't able to stay around, so I took over. I had to basically draft mons that nobody else picked. So basically, I got scraps for like the first 3 tiers, and then we got back to normal. So I really got, you could say, sniped somewhat out of some good Pokemon that were in tier 1 and tier 2. But nevertheless, I feel as though that I got a good portion of Pokemon at my disposal. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into the 12 Pokemon I drafted. So, we go in order by tiering, meaning you start in the Mega Uber tier, then you go to tier 1, and go down the line all the way to tier 5. So, with my first pick in the Mega Uber tier, I decided that I was going to pick a Mega and an Uber, as I could have picked 2 Megas, but the Megas that were left weren't really appealing to me. And Mega Gardevoir was there, and I'm using Mega Gardevoir in the NES, but I didn't want to repeat something that worked. I wanted to expand my possibilities, expand my knowledge of other Megas in draft league format. So I picked a rather unexpected mega, so to speak, or sort of a mega that's kind of underlooked to an extent. So I decided with my mega pick I would take Mega Delayed. So Mega Delayed, a Pokemon that doesn't really stand out, but does get access, has that ghost, has that fighting psychic typing, gets inner focus upon Mega Evolution, so I can take the fake out from Mega Lopunny, I can take fake outs from Mega Kangaskhan and proceed to close combat. Both of them gives me stabs and headbutt, has access to knockoff, can sword stance, has access to priority with Shadow Sneak. I can potentially run like a bulk up set, hopefully. But it's basically a Pokemon that I wanted to try out, as I did consider it in the NES, but it didn't really appeal to me at the time. But now I have sort of an excuse to actually go out and try Mega Gallade, simply because it can be a very good Pokemon given the right circumstances, and I hope to exploit said good circumstances, despite the fact that it has to compete with other Megas. And Mega stuff like Mega Gengar can be an issue, um, and things like Xerneas are going to be a huge issue, Yveltal, stuff like that. But I think I can work around it with the rest of my team. As for my second pick from the Mega Uber tier, um, I wanted something that can benefit, that can help out Mega Gallade in terms of the sweeping aspect. So I wanted to immediately go after a Wall Breaker, and I didn't want two Mega. I wanted a Uber Wall Breaker, something that comes in and tries to it strikes fear into my opponent with its wide range of coverage and its high attacking capabilities. So with my second pick, I went and got somehow, I don't know why this was still available, but I got Landorus Incarnate. Sheer Force, Life Orb, Earth Power, Psychic, Sludge Wave, Focus Blast. It's gonna two-shot something. That is an unmistakable fact. Landorus Incarnate was banned from OU for a reason. Sheer Force is what makes Landorus Incarnate so good in this tier. And it's not limited to just an all-out attacking set. It can rock polish. It can be a stealth rocker. It can knock off. It's not a one-trick pony at all. It is a very scary wall breaker. It's capable of doing so many things for my team. And basically, what I probably will be relying on for the most part, though of course, since I said earlier that I can't have both Mega Gallade and Landorus Incarnate on the same team, I have to pick one or the other. So I can't really use them together, but I feel as though they're both good. They're both solid Pokemon that my opponents should be fearing on my team. So moving on to Tier 1 now. Tier 1, I had to pick from scraps because they already moved past Tier 1 and there weren't that many Pokemon left in Tier 1. I wanted to go with Manaphy as I was accustomed and I was very comfortable using Manaphy, but Manaphy was gone. And I didn't really have any backup plans, and the Pokemon that were left, I didn't really appeal to me, so I had to make do with what I got. So, one of my Tier 1 Pokemon, I decided that I can go a little bit defensive for Tier 1, so I picked up Zapdos. Zapdos I have used before, it's something I know very well with Access to Thunderbolt, Volt Switch. It's a very good defensive Pokemon. It doesn't have to be defensive. I can run potentially the Baton Pass set. I can run physically defensive, specially defensive, can boost, can defog, heat wave, hidden power. It has all the essentials I need, and it also gained that hidden ability in static, which can punish physical attackers upon making contact with Zapdos. Of course, I can't run static in combination with defog, so that would be an issue, but Nevertheless, Zapdos is a good Pokemon specifically for hazard removal, for dealing with physical attackers, and just having some sort of defensive back, something to fall back on in terms of defensive capabilities was very nice to have early on. Now, as for my second pick in tier one, I decided that I wanted something that can feed off of both Mega Raid and Landers Incarnate, as they both can be very scary wall breakers given the chance. So with my second tier one pick, I decided to go after Hydreigon. So Hydreigon plus Landorus Incarnate or Hydreigon plus Mega Blade is a very scary combination, although there is some common weaknesses with Hydreigon plus Mega Blade both being weak to Fairy, and Hydreigon plus Landorus Incarnate both being weak to Ice. Um, Nevertheless, I feel as though that Hydreigon plus any of my Mega Evo picks is a very scary combination to have. Hydreigon is not limited to just one set of being like a wall breaker. It can do Choice Scarf, it can do mixed access to U-turn, can Dragon Pulse, Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Earth Power, Flash Cannon for fairies, Fire Blast for steel types. The list of coverage goes on and for Hydreigon. I basically just want something to complement Landorus Incarnate and Mega Blade. So if I bring Landorus Incarnate plus Hydreigon, Hydreigon can be like a Choice Scarf set, and Landorus Incarnate can be like a all-out attacking set, or I can make Landorus Incarnate a Rock Polish set, and Hydreigon can be like a Choice Scarf, or any combination of those things. But I feel as though that having that wall-breaking duo just coming in, punishing my opponents with strong attacks. Hydreigon for momentum for potentially making a Glade to come in and clean up, things like that. So, with that being said, we move on to tier 2 in the draft format, and tier 2 was also a lot of Pokemon were gone. Like I said, I came into this draft with the draft already being in progress, so there weren't that many Pokemon available for tier 2. So, having to make do with what was available, I decided that, okay, 3 of my 4 Pokemon that I picked so far, they're weak to ice. So I needed a good bulky ice resist. Unfortunately for me, this Pokemon was still available when I came around to pick, so I decided to pick it up. A Pokemon that I have never used, and I've seen it put in a lot of work in Draft League format, and that is Milotic. Milotic complements Zapdos pretty well, with Milotic being weak to electric and grass. Zapdos resists grass, can take electrical hits pretty well. Landorus Incarnate is immune to electric. Um, Milotic is a good defensive Pokemon with Scald, Ice Beam, Dragon Tail, Recover, Toxic. A greater defensive ability and Marvel Scale boosting its defense if its status um, can potentially run like a bulky offensive set with competitive, but I basically just wanted something to eat up ice attacks. Or retaliate with either a skull, recover up the damage, or red on bulky or non toxic, or Dragon Tail for phasing, things like that. So I feel like my low take would fit in pretty well as a switch in to certain ones, though I have to be careful in certain situations where my low take can actually be a sitting duck. So if I do bring my low tick, I have to keep that in mind, but I do have some good offensive presence already, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. Now, as for my second tier 2 pick, um, the amount of Pokemon left were bare, and not that many Pokemon really appeal to me. Um, Magnezone was available as I did notice that two of my Pokemon were weak to Fairy, and having a Fairy resist is very good, but Magnezone didn't really fit what I wanted, and I felt as though that aside from Mega Delayed with Shadow Sneak, I wanted something with a bit more potential as a wall breaker while still having something with priority. So another fearsome Pokemon underrated in League format. I decided with my second pick to pick up the Frodon. Frodon, I know I drafted two water types. I was trying to avoid the whole multiple typing thing, but the way with the Pokemon that were left, Frodon just seemed to appeal to me more with adaptability, Crab Hammer, adaptability, knockoff, Aqua Jet, Sludge Wave for fairy types. I can run Choice Banded, Aqua Jet, Choice Band, Crab Hammer. The amount of switches to Frodon is very limited depending on what I run or Frodon. But the water dark coverage is very good, so I couldn't complain. And priority adaptability Aqua Jet is a blessing for my team, especially because I don't have to rely solely on outspeed things with a choice scar for rock polish or stuff like that. So moving on to tier 3, I now have 3 Pokemon with the addition of Troodon weak to Fairy. And in tier 3, my main priority in tier 3 was to get a Fairy Resist. My first and my primary option for that Fairy Resist was Amoonguss, but Amoonguss was taken very early in tier 3, so I was scrambling to find another Fairy Resist that fit my team. Unfortunately for me, this Pokemon did fall into my lap, so I am very happy to have a good Fairy Resist and a good solid Pokemon overall in my Metagross. So Metagross is not limited to just being a bulky Fairy Resist. It can Stealth Rock, it can be an Agility Sweeper, Meteor Mash, Sand Headbutt, Earthquake, Rock Slide, access to Thunder Punch and Ice Punch, Hammer Arm, Bullet Punch for priority. So, mainly since we're allowing Uber Pokemon in this format, Xerneas puts in a number against my team. And I do not want to be swept by Xerneas. With Metagross in tow, I can ensure that I at least have a check to the Xerneas, as HP Fire from after Geomancy still does a crap ton to an Assaultless Metagross, though I will find a way around it somehow. Nevertheless, I needed a Fairy Resist, and Metagross just happened to be there when it was my turn to pick, so I had to snatch up Metagross. I needed that. I needed something bulky. I needed something that is not only good at checking fairy types, but can handle fairy type Pokemon in general. So that's why Metagross fits for my team. And as for my second tier 3 pick, I still felt as though that having a backup Fairy Resist was necessary, as nothing else in tier 3 really appealed to me. So I this next Pokemon is another Pokemon I wanted to try out in previous drafts, but I never had the chance to draft them because it was already gone by the time they came to me. So in my second tier 3 pick, I decided to go after the Roserade. Now, Roserade is not limited to just being an offensive Pokemon. It can be a defensive set with access to Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Synthesis, Stab, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Extrasensory, Technician, Hidden Power, Great Ability, Technician, and Natural Cure. So I can really mix it up if I want to. It's not Among Us, but nevertheless, Roserade does have more offensive potential than Among Us. It's not entirely useless in some situations. and it does have a good speed tier base 90, so I can potentially run Choice Scarf Rosary if it comes to that sort of situation. But nevertheless, Rosary does give me a lot of options in terms of what I can bring, whether it be a bulky spike setter, whether it be a assault vest technician set, which I have seen someone use with good success, like a toxic utility set. Rosary just gives me another backup check to fairy types. Its weaknesses are pretty solidly covered among the rest of my team, so it's felt like a good fit into what I wanted to do with my team, as it was starting to shape up pretty nicely. Though I am sort of lacking a little bit of speed, as my fastest Pokemon is my Landorus, but I will get to the rest of my team in a bit. Moving on now to my tier 4 mobs. Um, tier 4, the selection is pretty bare because I didn't want to overlap on common rules, and I did notice on my team I didn't really have a definite club. I know Rosemary gets a run of therapy, but I don't want to waste a move song on my Rosemary just to be a cleric. So I decided to look for a cleric in tier 4, and it stumbled upon me that I should go after Aromatisse. Aromatisse gives me a fairy type. It gives me a dragon switching to things like it's a check to Kirums, to Zekrom, Reshiram, things like that. A Wish Passer can run a therapy. Can Moonblast can be like an offensive trick room set for faster threats, as Aromatisse does have some good special attack and it has the speed to pull off trick room very, very effectively. And it has that great ability in Running Veil, so it cannot be taunted on for things like that. And I feel as though having that cleric support in the back, the wish support, would really benefit from my offensive threats, my offensive wall breakers, as well as my defensive moms, as they do hate being inflicting assassination bar than my low tick, but not having to be worrying about recover stuff, using recover all the time, would benefit me greatly. And Aromatisse's weaknesses are covered by my Metagross, as Metagross is immune to poison and is resistant to steel. Um, so Aromatisse's job basically on this team is to just come in, take hits, apply, um, be a cleric with wish, therapy, heal, or whatever. Just try to keep the team healthy and wear down the opposing team, whether Moonblast or Toxic, one or the other. And moving on to my second tier 4 pick, it was kind of touch and go because every Pokemon in the tier 4 I did not want, simply because with this kind of formatting I had to switch around my strategy. I didn't want fast Pokemon that are frail. So I couldn't. I wanted to. I was initially going to draft Houndoom with this next pick, but Houndoom would then give me 3 Dark type Pokemon, which I didn't want, as that would put too much pressure on my Metagross and my Rosemary to take all those Fairy hits. Even though Houndoom is neutral to Fairy, it is pretty frail. So I decided that I needed to patch up I needed some speed. I also wanted a Spin Blocker. Now, I could have also taken Jellicent, which was available when it was my turn to pick, but at the same time, I didn't want 3 water types. So, this next selection may be a bit unconventional for me. I felt like it can still put in some use, regardless. So, with my second tier 4 pick just happens to be the Frostlass. Now, Frostlass is sort of forgotten among most most people, but Frostlass does have. I feel as though it's more than just a suicide lead. especially in a format especially in a format like this where you need to be able to have something fast. Frostlass can taunt, can Destiny Bond. You'll probably see me mostly use that as like a suicide spiker, but I feel as though that Frostlass can do more than just be a suicide spiker. I could probably do like an offensive life orb set or um like a bulky spike setter, something along those lines. It's not the best ghost typing, but Frostlass does give me an ice switch in somewhat. I do have Metagross in the back, but Metagross doesn't want to be most Pokemon that carry ice coverage, like water types, have like Scald, and Frostlass gets burned as a mine being burned as mostly a special attacker. But at the same time, Frostlass is frail, but it does have it's pretty good base 110 speed. I'll probably I could probably do like a choice scarf set, like a choice scarf Destiny Mon, just to get a revenge, just to try to take him down with his threat. It gives me a Spike Setter, opposed from Rose Raid. A solid ability and Curse Body to possibly cripple like choice users, so my opponent has to switch out. So I feel as though Frostlass is not really a one-trick pony. So it'll be interesting to see how I can utilize Frostlass's capabilities and its traits. So now we move on to the last tier, Tier 5, and I had to pick two Pokemon. And my first Pokemon for Tier 5 was sort of a toss-up because I did not want any overwhelming weaknesses on my team. I didn't want, basically, I didn't want, I didn't want, I wanted a bulky wall breaker, something that can hit, something like Hydreigon, but at the same time, something bulkier that can take a hit and dish it back even harder. So this may fall a little bit along the lines of Hydreigon from my tierings perspective, but with my tier 5, my first pick in tier 5, I decided to go with Magmortar. Now, Magmortar I wanted not just for the whole the firewood or grass core, it was mainly for wall breaking purposes. It gives me another fairy resist. It gives me something. It gives me something that can punish water types, like the Greninja, like the any water type in general with Thunderbolt, Fire Blast, um, Focus Blast, Psychic. It has a wider range of coverage options at its disposal. It has the bulk to pull off a Stealth like Metagross. It's worn down fairly easily because it lacks recovery and it's sort of frail on the physical side, but I do have Aromatisse to deal with wish support, so it's not that big of an issue. And Magmortar, I can also probably run Choice Scarf on Magmortar too, so the number of options I have at my disposal are pretty much out there. And as for my last Pokemon in the draft, I looked at my team and I figured out that I didn't really have a Stealth Rocker. Like I know Metagross gets Stealth Rocks, I know Landorus gets Stealth Rocks, but I didn't really have a Pokemon that definitely can run Stealth Rocks. And looking at my team, my main normal resist was Frostlass and Metagross. They'll be taking repeated. I don't want them taking repeated hits unnecessarily. So I decided with my final Pokemon, I needed a bulkier stealth rock user. So with my final pick, I decided to go with the Rhydon. Rhydon is not limited to just stealth rock. I know it can pull off a rock polish set. It can do double damage with rock polish, but Swords Dance has the edge quake combination. Mega Horn for dark types if I need it. So Rhydon is basically here to just take hits thanks to EV Light and set up Stealth Rocks. Even uninvested in its attack stat, Rhydon does a lot of damage to any Pokemon that's not physically bulky enough to take it on 1v1. And I felt as though that Rhydon would fit on my team simply because the water and grass weaknesses by Rhydon are covered up pretty well. And his weaknesses in general are covered up very well with the rest of my team. And I feel as though that with this team, I can do something pretty decent trying to make a name for myself. My team as a whole isn't overly fast, but I do have a bunch of potential setup sweepers like Rock Polish Landers and Carnage Rock Polish, Rhydon, Flame Charge, Magmortar, Agility, Metagross. The combination, the possibilities are endless, and like I said, I can't bring all these Pokemon at the same battle. I have to pick Landers or Carnage or Mega Gallade, and big Zapdos or Dragon, Milotic, Crawdaunt. So it really gives me a good feel as to really switch up my strategy and what do I prefer to have in terms of what my opponent will bring, whether it be do I want an offensive presence mon to deal with his defensive wall, to deal with defensive Pokemon, to deal with offensive threats. You can't bring any combination that you want. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this season turns out for me. I'm very excited, not gonna lie. The season begins this coming Monday. And my week 1 opponent will be Panther 2, coach of the Carolina Fables, who won season 1 of the APA and made it to the championship game. Made it all the way to the finals in last season, but unfortunately lost. So I know he's going to look to start the season off on a high note. So I have to be very careful. So if you feel, yeah, I lost one. But anyway, if you did enjoy my draft analysis, feel free to hit that like button. Also, as a side note, before I forget, since my last video, I also have a Twitter account, so feel free to follow me on Twitter as I will be uploading my APA matches. I'll be continue to upload my NES matches. I have my Week 10 match against the Aston Chargers coming up over the weekend, and I will probably upload that battle, if not the same day, and I'll probably upload it on Sunday. Something like that. So, if you enjoyed this draft analysis, like I said, hit that like button. If you really enjoyed the content, feel free to drop down and hit that subscribe button down below. I'll be leaving my Twitter account, link to my Twitter in the description. I'll be leaving the link to the APA if you want to follow along. And I feel as though this is going to be a great season for the Maine Red Clawitzers and look to mega launch ourselves through this league and hopefully to a title. So until the next time, my name is Anthony, aka Tone114, and I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side. Later!